my name is Corey McNeil. I am the product manager at NCDPI for Canvas and GoOpenNC. So I am your support contact at the state agency level for all things Canvas and GoOpen. I work on the home-based team, so other products that you're familiar with are on our team, NESA's, PowerSchool, SchoolNet, any of those other types of products. That's the team that I work with. So we wanted to do these sessions throughout the year, just kind of as a way, opportunity for teachers or leaders or people in districts to have conversations and learn more about Canvas in an environment that was kind of outside of the daily schedule, because I know a lot of people have busy days, and so I appreciate you being with us here in the evening. For those of you that have just joined us, we're using WebEx, obviously, so if you are using the tools across the bottom, you feel free to unmute yourselves. This will be like an open dialogue. Lorianne and I are here to answer questions as much as give information. Feel free to use camera or not, totally up to you. I get that it's 7 o'clock and you're probably tired and don't want to deal with that. So, but we got you here. We are very happy to have Lorianne with us. She is a great trainer. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to her, and I'll just be here monitoring the chat and answering any questions that may come up.
Great. Thanks, Corey. I appreciate it. Let me go ahead and share my screen and make sure that I'm sharing. Good. You guys good? Can you see it? Excellent. All right. Hi, everyone. Appreciate you being here. As Corey said, my name is Lorianne Stickler. I am a learning associate with Canvas Instructure. I'm here to hopefully help you identify some ways in which we can begin to implement using the Canvas tools around formative assessment. Longtime educator. I actually have been working in Florida in public education my entire career. Many experience as, elementary teacher, middle school teacher, district administrator, Canvas guru, all the fun stuff. So I'm super happy to be here with you today, and I really hope that you walk away with some strategies for implementing formative assessment Canvas courses. So tonight's agenda, we're going to talk about the importance of assessment. We're going to discover practical uses for formative assessment, and we're going to take a dive, albeit a medium dive, into how Canvas tools can help you to design and implement formative assessments with your students. We're also going to take a little quick comparison between new quizzes and classic quizzes. I'm not sure how much experience you have with classic. I personally have a year's experience with classic, and I was very hesitant to come over to new. Now that I've decided to come over to new, I'll never go back to classic. I think new is amazing. So I'm hoping that I can maybe spark your interest and eventual admiration for some of the new features that we have in new quizzes. So let's just take a second to think about formative assessment, right? What is it? What is it for? How do we use it as teachers? When I think about formative assessment, I think about the real use of it for me as an educator is how it allows me to discover what my students know while they're still in the process of learning. And I think that's the real golden moment with assessment. It can be done while the students are learning, and it informs me as to how well I'm getting my message across. And then it also informs me as to how well the students are either mastering the content and ready to move on, or maybe, not so ready to move on and they need a different approach or a different pathway to get, the message across and to get eventually to mastery, right? So I don't know about you, but in my many years as a teacher, designing assessment in my classroom can feel tricky and a little bit daunting, right? So when I'm looking for designing just the right assessment, I tend to get overwhelmed, and I'm very much a perfectionist. I want to do it right the first time. I want to have 100% mastery of my students, right? I think we're probably all in the same boat in regard to that. And I have to remind myself that assessment doesn't have to be at the end of a unit always, right? I don't want to wait until the final exam or the end of course exam or end of unit exam. I want to be assessing my students as I go along, because that's how I'm truly going to be informed as to how well they are doing, and if I need to make any accommodations or differentiation, and giving them a different path to to getting toward mastery. And I think that's important for us, to remember as teachers. And that's really the entire theme of tonight is, sorry, I have a dog in the room. My apologies if you heard that. That's the theme of this evening, is how can we help our students to demonstrate mastery in very low pressure ways, right? Just constantly demonstrating mastery and helping us to be informed as teachers as to how well we're doing and getting our message across. So when it comes to figuring out what our students really know, we have to look at more than one kind of information, right? A single data point, a test at the end of a unit, the end of the week, the end of a chapter, the end of a course, that's not going to really give me the kind of information that I need as an educator in order to be informed always as to where my students are. No matter how well designed a quiz or a presentation or even a problem is, it's not going to be enough information to help me plan my next step in instruction. That's where formative assessment comes in. You add to the fact that different learning tasks are being measured in different ways all the time, right? We can see that we have a need for a variety of assessments, a variety of formative assessment tools, and we need to be able to deploy these quickly, seamlessly, and most importantly, especially for those students who may have test anxiety, in a low stakes kind of way, something that is just continually being done. So it's just part of our daily process, and it doesn't feel like it's something to worry about or to have to stand up and be measured, because I'm constantly being measured because I'm showing you, the teacher, what I know through a variety of tools. So as we're thinking about formative assessment, and we're going to be moving into how Canvas tools can support our formative assessment, I think it's important for us to think about formative assessment in three ways, right? So it's important for me to remember that the purpose of formative assessment is to help me gain a better understanding of what my students know, what they still need to learn, and then most importantly, how can I adapt my instruction to support student learning. Formative assessment can be very formal in nature, and some of the formal types of assessments for formative assessments could be quizzes. And we traditionally think of, a quiz on Friday, right? A quiz at the end of the week or a quiz at the end of the unit. They could be papers. Even entrance slips, coming into, tickets in the door, tickets out the door. Those are more of a formal, show me what you know, show me what you remember about what we talked about today. Formal formative assessments can be presentations, concept maps, written surveys. Those are all really, I think, as a student looks at them as, oh, now I have to demonstrate what I know in a very formal and usually a graded way. But we can also have informal assessments, right? Those are the ones that you and I as a teacher, we use these. They can be graded, but they don't necessarily have to be graded. They're more performance based. It's, let me just do a quick check to see how my students have picked up what we talked about today and maybe furthered their learning a little bit more from yesterday. And some of those informal formative assessments, look like quick checks for understanding, questioning, discussions, observations. And then, also within, especially as an ex-elementary teacher, I constantly had a, thumbs up if, two thumbs up if you get it, thumbs down if you don't, maybe sideways if you're feeling a little insecure. Something I would always say as well is, show me three fingers if you're feeling really confident. Show me one or two if you're maybe struggling with it a little bit. We can do all those things, within and without Canvas. And I think it's important as educators for us to come up with a variety of ways to assess instruction on a daily basis, constantly, so that we are helping our students to understand their thinking. Metacognition is so important, and I think it's really something for us as educators to think about. How am I helping this student to determine how he or she is thinking about the situation? Are they thinking about their thinking, or are they just looking for my affirmation to tell them whether they are right or wrong? And all of that is encompassed in formative assessments. So let's talk a little bit about different types, like practical examples, right? I think probably the most popular would be using those minutes at the beginning and the end of a class to provide some opportunities to find out what students have mastered through low stakes formative assessments such as bell ringers or exit tickets. You can see on the slide here, there's some, 3 or 4 examples of what these exit tickets and bell ringers, how they can be organized within Canvas. For example, you could create a daily assignment with due dates and it will populate in the student's to-do list on the homepage. And they'll know that just as a general practice, okay, it's time for my exit ticket. I need to give my teacher some feedback as to what I learned today, or maybe even how I felt about what I learned today, right? You could consider utilizing the default grade and gradebook to help with grading submissions. You could do this as a complete incomplete, or it could be something that's ungraded, right? Just something to get some feedback from the students on the regular basis so that they could, help inform how they're learning what you're teaching, and then giving you the opportunity as the teacher to really reflect and say, okay, how can I change what I'm doing so that I can support student learning on the individual basis as well as the whole class. So now we're going to think about the deep dive into the Canvas tools, right? Because I think probably as we're talking about these types of bell work was very popular in my last few years of teaching. I'd always have that 10-minute sort of activity for students to do to come in and get them settled and get their mind focused on what we were going to learn. I know how to do that by writing on the board or projecting, onto using the projector to project the information. Get out your paper, get out your pencil. Let's do these things. Let's talk about it. Let's write it in our journal. We know how to do all of those things on paper and pencil, right? That's just what we've been doing for so many years. But we can also do that in Canvas. And that's really kind of the focus of what I wanted to do today, was to talk to you about how we can use specific tools in Canvas to support this formative assessment. Some of the things we're going to talk about will be something like using assignments for peer review. Did you know that you are able to, when you're creating an assignment in Canvas, you can actually check the peer review box and you can have students give feedback to each other on their assignments, on their submissions. You can do peer review in an anonymous fashion if you don't want the reviewee to know who the reviewer was. You could also allow the names to be shown. So, why is that important? We're thinking about giving feedback to students, doing it in a low stakes fashion, right? How great is it personally, when I'm learning something, and usually when I'm trying to practice something, I'll practice it and then I'll look to my peer and I'll be like, was this right? Even thinking about learning Canvas and presenting Canvas in the very early days, something that we did was we always presented in pairs and we had a checklist. And what we would do is we would fill out the checklist while the other person was presenting. And then we'd go over it and we'd talk about, okay, Lorianne, here's what I saw as your strengths. And here's what I saw as some things you can work on. Well, your students can do that too. And I'm sure that you're probably doing that paper and pencil right now. Have you considered using peer review in Canvas to show how the students can, in a low stakes way, comment on each other's work, and you as the teacher can see that happening? I'm going to show you that in a couple minutes. I think peer review is amazing. Another thing that you can use around formative assessments is just bringing in video for Canvas Studio. And you can set up the video so that you have little stop moments within the video to serve as a quiz, right? So you can have let's say a 10-minute video, 15-minute video, and you know that there are certain things that you want the student to know and they're finished with this video. So by using Studio Quiz, you can set it up so that you have a little bit of information. Video stops, the student must answer a question. Maybe it's a multiple choice, true, false, something like that, and then the video will continue. So not only does that give meaning for the student to watch the video, but they also know that they're accountable for learning something from the video, right? So that's something you can use in a Studio Quiz. Another great thing that I'm going to show you tonight, one of my favorite things, is just enabling comments and feedback on a studio video. And what we use this a lot is, for example, if like the example I'm going to show you in a couple of minutes is I have is how much is too much screen time, right? And it's common sense media video. And I love using the comments on a studio quiz or a studio video just to hear students' opinions, right? And get the conversation started. If I put that into a discussion board, now I have the ability not only to have students comment on the video at certain parts, but also they can reply to others' comments in the discussion board. That's another way to have some very informal, formative assessment going on. Speaking of discussions, have you considered using discussions in a journal-like fashion? You can do it in such a way that you and the student have access to it, and it doesn't have to be available for everyone else by assigning it to certain students. You can do think, pair, share in discussions, right? You can have students use the video portion of of Canvas to comment on each other. So then it's not in writing, but it's in video. So many great things that you can do around formative assessment. And then last but not least, anytime we think of assessment, what do we always think of? We think of quizzes, right? So I just want to talk a little bit about the difference between new and classic quizzes. And I have, I think, 3 or 4 quizzes that I've created just to show you some of the great new features. And hopefully you'll start thinking about how you can maybe use one of the new Canvas quizzes as maybe an entrance ticket or a ticket out the door kind of thing, just in a very informal way. So let's stop for a second because I've been doing a lot of talking. And I want to ask you a couple questions, and I'd love for you to open up your mic if you feel like you would like to, or put it in the chat as well. What kind of formative assessment do you currently do, or what kind of things can you bring to your Canvas classroom? I know I've given you a couple of examples, but I definitely always love to learn from my peers, and perhaps I'll walk away with something new. I hope so. So can anybody give me any sort of feedback on what kind of formative assessments do you currently use, or some that you like? Or is going to help me out with the chat there because I always lose the chat when I'm when I'm doing this. Or
Yeah,
Corey,
when you share your screen, it just
and no, I lose
goes
everything,
away.
right? Yeah, absolutely. Does anybody out there use tickets out the door? That's always like a real popular one with teachers. Any
Use a
ideas?
lot of the bell ringers and entrance tickets. And I don't use the exit tickets as much, but I do like those.
Okay. And Shelly, when you use the bell ringers, is that like a review of what we taught yesterday? Is that how you set it up?
Sometimes I do it as a review, but I also do it as a what do you know about this, the subject that we're going to talk about that day.
Oh,
Right,
awesome.
kind
Okay.
of as a prior knowledge. Let's get
Yep.
this discussion started.
Yep. Let's see what background knowledge you have and how much I need to kind of like front load things, right? That's
Right.
awesome. Thank you so much for that feedback. I appreciate it. Anybody else have any idea or any comments you want to share on your formative assessment?
Hello,
Two
this
in the
is
chat.
Maria. Yeah, this is
Go ahead,
Maria
Maria.
Rivera. Yes, I teach Spanish as a language, and basically, I like to use. I used to use a recorder from outside, like an online. And what I've been doing this semester with my AP student, because they do have to basically speak for 2 minutes, and they using the recorder as a as a formative assessment. Uh, they actually have to speak for 2 minutes, and they're using the video recorder or the audio recorder that is implemented in Canvas. They submit it, and basically I give feedback to them. And sometimes I use the audio myself just to talk to them back to them. And that's one thing that I use a lot with the students in on all different levels.
That's
Everybody's a little bit different, but that's what I normally do.
I love that. And this fact that you're teaching in another language, right? I think that's perfect because you're really embedding that practice into that's amazing. I was going to ask you if you actually spoke back to them using the voice recorder, because I can imagine as a, learning a different language, not only would it be helpful for me to get your feedback, but also to get your feedback in the language in which we're learning, right? Another reason, another availability to practice. I see some chat up in the corner, but it goes away so fast. Help me out, Corey.
Yeah, so Randy says 3, 2, 1 at the end of lesson. Randy, I don't know what that one is, and so
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick on you and make you tell me what it is.
3, 2, 1. I don't know. I'm not familiar either.
So 3 things you learn, 2 things you oh my gosh, I don't remember now. 3 things you learn, 2 things something, and then 1 takeaway from the lesson.
Okay.
So I'll have to look and see what all the titles are.
3 things you
But I
learn.
like
Is it 2 questions maybe? That kind
Yeah,
of.
I think it is 2 questions.
Yeah, it kind of sparks
Actually, on this 53 ways document, if you scroll down,
Yay.
Okay.
Google
Where are
search.
we? What number? Help me out.
27.
7.
Look at there.
3, 2, 1. Look at that. You're in print. 3 things you found out, 2 interesting things, and 1 question you still have. Excellent. Yeah, this is a great document. As soon as I find the chat, I'll put it in the chat for you. But I'll also include this in a follow up with Corey. This document is amazing. Just 53 ways to check for understanding. Sounds like someone may be familiar with this one already. It is definitely a favorite of mine. Right.
And Randy, I saw that you said you have your band teacher using Flipgrid. We can show them how to do that absolutely in Canvas too.
And our littles have been using it for reading fluency. So
yeah,
it's free. So we've been trying to push some of the free programs, and both of those will integrate in Canvas. I'm learning a little bit.
That's awesome. Yeah, Flipgrid is definitely a favorite. In a district that I used to work in, we used Flipgrid until we had Studio. And once Studio came in, Studio kind of took over. But Flipgrid is awesome. It works really well in Canvas. I love it. I think it's amazing. And the kids love it too, right? They feel like they're little YouTube stars. They're always just very excited to demonstrate what they know in any time it's in a video. That's great. All right, you guys, thank you so much for helping me out here. Let me get back to my slideshow. Let's see. Nope. Yep, here we go. Okay, perfect. All right, so let's talk real quick about new quizzes and classic quizzes. Give me a little, let's see, give me a 1 in the chat if you're a classic quiz user, and a 2 in the chat if you're a new quiz user. I'm just curious. Who do we have out there? Classic versus new. What do we look like, Corey?
We got a 2, and we don't know.
Okay, we got it. We got a new quiz user, so that's good. I like that. That makes me happy. All right. So if you're not as familiar with quizzes, do not stress about it. Classic quizzes are amazing. I've been a fan for years. New quizzes, I've discovered a new love for, and I want to talk about both. So here's what you need to know. Canvas at its inception, the classic quizzes that you see identified here on the left, right? These were what came about as Canvas was built. These are the ones that just, kind of your true false, multiple choice, essay questions, fill in the blank, those kind of things, right? Then we have our new quizzes, and our new quizzes are really more interactive. We have the ability to align to individual outcomes, shuffle the answers, shuffle the questions, customize point values. New quizzes feel meatier. They feel like they're meeting the needs of our assessment engines now that we have, where students are maybe having to click on or spotlight something, that kind of thing. New quizzes are able to meet that need. So looking at you as a Canvas user have access to both classic and new quizzes for the next couple of years, right? So if you are a classic quiz user, you're not super excited about coming over to new quizzes, you don't have to panic, because your new quizzes are not going away. They're going to stick around for the next couple of years. We are eventually going to migrate everyone to new quizzes, right? Because of the functionality of new quizzes, it's just really going to meet the needs that we have for our learners. Both platforms, you can see, Both platforms allow you to import question banks. Both platforms, new and old, you can regrade, you can reorder questions, you can offer multiple attempts, you can assign to individuals or the whole class, you can set a time limit, you can moderate the quiz per student, the quiz log, all of those things. All of those things are available. Both of the quizzes use Speedgrader. So there's not really that much change in how you use it. It's really in the building and just getting used to the navigation, but it's really not that serious. And I'll tell you, many teachers we're afraid of change. We don't like change. We like things. We like to know what we're doing. We like to master. I'm one of those, and I was very, very hesitant to come over to new quizzes. Once I did, I'm not coming back. I like the new quizzes much better than the classic, because I love the excitement and the functionality of what we have. So here's what we need to know. Classic quizzes will be officially turned off June 30th, 2024. So as I said, you've got a couple of years, right? We have new quizzes. We have the new quizzing platform. It's allowing for interactivity, accommodations, and a main quizzing platform. So when I click here, hopefully it opens properly. It does. All right. So this is a document here that talks about the classic quiz sunset, right? It talks about the different ways in which it talks about the timing in which things are gonna be finished, and gives you an idea of what will be coming forward in new quizzes. Sorry about that. And then I go into my classic quizzes timeline, and oh, that's the same one. Okay, I thought it was a little bit different. So this is just a document that you can read just to kind of give you an idea of the sunsetting of the classic quizzes and moving into the new. I don't want to spend too much time on it, mainly because it's happening. It's going to happen, and I'd rather pop into our new quizzes, or I'd pop into the examples that I have created for you, and hopefully we can let me find it. Hopefully we can just spend some time talking about. Stop sharing for a second.
Yeah, while you're working on that, so just so you guys know that this was originally pushed back. So this was a lot of things that Canvas, it was nice and responsive to a lot of feedback they received from customers like those of us here at North Carolina, because there were some feature sets that we just found to be very critical. So they're really continue to work. They're trying to do as much as you can with a single team to build up a platform before it's ready to kind of switch everyone over. Because in an ideal world, it would be fully built out, but you have only so many resources, just like we do. One of the documents that I like on that screen, or on that link, is, and I can't seem to find it right this moment, but there is a comparison document. It's like a Google Doc that talks about the feature sets between classic quizzes and what's the roadmap for new quizzes, and they update that occasionally. So if you're a classic quizzes users, I would look at that and see, like, hey, are there particular things that I use that maybe I need to wait on or to know more about, to see if it's a feature set that I'm going to be limited by with the transition to new quizzes.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. And I have it on the screen. Can you see it again, that document?
Yeah,
Okay,
we can see the page. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and like right now, for example, new quizzes, you don't have the availability to copy a new quiz from the commons, right? Or from one course into another. You can't take it from one instance to another. So all of that will be coming, right? So we're going to have the migration that'll be available. They're going to enforce the migration by 7/2022, right? So those things, as we're opting into the new quizzes, by the time we get to the sunset of Classic, the idea is you will have full functionality to move everything over, and there won't be any break in disturbance in what you're doing around quizzes. So, all right, let's take a look at some formative assessment examples that I came up with. And I just kind of started poking around at the different courses that I have and started thinking about, if I'm creating something that I think is an exciting formative assessment for a student, what would that look like? So what I did is, in this module here, you can see that I have Canvas Studio assignment, be the teacher. And it's a unit review. So this, you can see here, hopefully this is a discussion. Let me show this to you. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be the student because I think it's a much easier interface to take a peek at. So Canvas Studio assignment, be the teacher. So here's an example of a formative assessment that you could use in a discussion that also incorporates a Canvas Studio video. So picture this, your teacher's not feeling well today and has asked you to take over and be the teacher. He or she has requested that you review any topic or concept that you learned during this unit of instruction. You will be the teacher and present a 3 to 5 minute lesson of your choice. You have two options. You can use Canvas Studio's webcam to capture and record your video and just present straight to the screen, or you can use the screen capture to record your screen and present your information. Maybe it's via PowerPoint, Sway, Google Doc, or some other presentation. Remember and record your voice. I've used this with students before. They're super excited to teach a concept. This works really well with math. They love to show you how they can factor these things or how they can work out a problem, right? And basically what we did is we put this into a discussion. So not only is the student giving you this video evidence of mastery of skills, but if they are replying to the discussion, then they're going to share it with their peers. And then what can happen is their peers can give them feedback in the discussion format. This is just an example of something that the kids have always really enjoyed doing, and we're doing it within a discussion board. Next example. The next example I have is a Canvas Studio discussion when we talked about putting comments on a video. So this one is how much screen time is too much. Let me make this a little bit smaller. How much screen time is too much? So adults often worry about kids engaging in too much screen time, but not all screen time is created equally. So is this a reasonable worry? So what happens is I used Studio, I used the embed on Studio to grab a YouTube video. I love the Studio embed because it takes away all of the noise outside of YouTube, right? It's not going to recommend certain videos to me. It's not going to recommend channels. It just really just focuses on what I want them to see. So my directions on this one would be to watch the video and add a comment. And the great part about this, if you've never seen the add a comment section in Studio, as the student's watching it, he or she goes ahead and starts to click their comment, type their comment here, and the video stops. They type their comment, and then up here on the timeline, you'll see comments. And then as the second person is watching the video, they're seeing what Lorianne said at this point in the video. And I'm gonna model that for you, but that's through the integration of Studio and Canvas, sorry. And then because I have it in a discussion board, I can ask my students to reply to their peers, right? So think about the research presented in this video and read your classmates' responses to this discussion and reply to at least one response. Now, I think because I'm not sure if I shared my computer volume with you when I shared my screen. I don't think I did. So I don't think it's really important what the message is, but I just want to show you how this can work from the student's perspective. So the student clicks play, right? He or she begins watching the video. I'm just going to turn it down so I can still talk. I'm listening to the host and what he's talking about with screen time, right? And if I have a comment, right now it's at 10 seconds, 11 seconds. If I have a comment, notice what happens. I come in, I write my comment. He's talking about how much screen time is too much, and I could say something like, you know, my mom always talks to me about this. You know, and here we are just connecting probably with each other. So you can see here, right here, my comment has shown up. And then as other students, if they happen to be watching it at the same time that I'm watching it, what's going to happen? You're going to see all those comments start to pop up, right? Notice also that here I am, I'm in this test student right now. Here's my comment, right? It's written right here. Another student can come in and reply to me, or the teacher can come in and reply to me, right? So now that's a way for us to just connect on an SEL sort of basis, as well as if it's, you know, you're asking maybe part of your assignment could be, listen, I need you to watch this video and I need you to have 3 meaningful comments about the content. And I'm hoping to maybe find out, are you pro screen time or are you, against, do you think you need to monitor it or something like that, right? I can see where you could use it for a variety of ways. So that's a way that you can use the studio embed to in putting it into a discussion to promote collaboration, among students. Another way, the peer review assignment. Let me come out of student view for a second. And I'm going to come back to the module real quick and let's talk about this. So this peer review assignment, I just put it in as an example because I want to show you how you can have students comment, on each other's assignment and get feedback, right? So as the teacher, you're coming in and notice right here, it says peer reviews. I click on it. I can see that I have Fred and Wilma Flintstone in my course, and I've assigned Wilma to comment for Fred, and I've assigned Fred to comment for Wilma. Now, when you're doing peer reviews, you could also have it just randomly do it, right? And or automatically, I should say. If you assign automatic peer reviews, I will tell you that the students will not get a notification of a peer review until after the due date has happened, right? So what I did was, as the teacher, I came in, I'm gonna go back to this, I clicked on edit. I went ahead and I gave the direction for my assignment, gave it points because I decided I wanted to be graded. It's an online assignment and I'm pushing a file upload because I want the student to create a slide. I think it said, create a slide that includes an image of a plant, label the stem, leaves, and roots. Obviously very, very, very young learners. It's a file upload because I'm asking them to create a Google slide or a PowerPoint slide. And then what I did was I required peer reviews here, right? So I have the choice as the teacher. I can manually assign it or I can automatically assign it. And what I needed to do tonight, I was playing around with it to remember how to do it. It had been a while and I was like, oh, that's right. I have to, if I automatically assign, if Canvas automatically assigns to peer review, then I need to make sure that the due date is finished because I know that it's not going to have a student review another student's assignment until it's sure that the due date is over, till it's been turned in. So I had to play with the due date just a little bit. If I want to do it manually, then I'm able to do that as well, right? So let me go ahead and save that. I'm going to go into Speedgrader because I went in and acted as Fred and I turned in my assignment. So here's Fred's assignment, right? I can see here, from the teacher perspective, this is where I could grade, I could add my comments, all of that things we already know. I could download his assignment. What I want to show you, however, is acting as Wilma. Tend to be her. Acting as Wilma, when she comes into the course, she's going to see, I'm hoping the acting as helps. Yes, she does. See, she has a peer review assignment right here. So because it's a graded assignment and I mandated peer reviews, now on Wilma's to-do list, she has a peer review assignment. So she comes in and her job right now is to, it says your peer review is not finished. For it to be considered finished, you have to leave at least one comment. So Wilma is able to click on this. If she clicks on this, it will download, I believe, so she can see it. Yeah, it's downloading to my other computer, which I've already shown it to you, right? It's just the plant. So she can go ahead and download that to take a look at it. She can click the view feedback. At this point, Wilma has the ability to, let's make it a little smaller, to come in and she can highlight things. She can go ahead and she can add some comments here. Just do something simple. Great work. Not sure if I spelled it right because I can't really see it, but she can leave the comment here. She could decide to highlight, she can draw, all of those things, right? She can also come in and she could leave a media comment like we talked about earlier, or she could come in and say, I see that you completed the assignment. Great work, you know, maybe there's suggestions for improvement, something like that. She would save her comment. So now Wilma has, you can see here, she's editing or commenting on, excuse me, Fred Flintstone's assignment, right? She saved it. She's going to go ahead and go back to her home. It should be off of her to-do list now. Oh, she hasn't turned in her own assignment. That's why. So Wilma hasn't turned in her assignment yet. But the peer review is finished, right? So now I'm going to come back and be the teacher. And anytime you're acting as, sometimes it'll be a little bit funky because Canvas knows you're not a real student, but I'm hoping that it'll work. I'll come in as the teacher. I'll take a look at the peer reviews. I can see here, if you look, there's a check mark, right? So I know as the teacher, Wilma has conducted her peer review for Fred's assignment. I could give her another peer review if I chose to at this point. I believe if I click on it, I will be able to see her comment. Do feedback. See. Yes, I can see here. Here's her comment. I should be able to see her add a oh, I do. It's right here. I'm sorry. I see that you completed the assignment. Great work. So now I'm in as the teacher, right? So now the teacher can come in and I can offer some advice if maybe things weren't done properly, or thanks for giving great feedback, or, you know, hopefully if she gave like really detailed feedback, because that's part of my assignment. Wilma, thank you so much for pointing out that Fred had, you know, 2 of the 3 things done. I appreciate you giving him some feedback and helping him to, you know, show mastery on his work. Obviously, it would be a much more meaningful way of using peer review, but I just wanted to give you the idea, right? So when I go back to here, I can give her a grade for her peer review as well. And then when I go into Speedgrader, I'll be able to see all of that together. So that's a really cool way to allow students to give feedback to other students. Again, you can have the peer review worth points, or it can be totally ungraded. It can also be anonymous, which I think is nice too, because, you know, if Fred and Wilma are paired up on peer review, you know, is Fred sometimes maybe a little insecure because he feels that Wilma's smarter than he is, or, you know, like all of those things, right? So if I have a student that's feeling a little insecure, you know, in regard to his or her peers helping him out and commenting, maybe I just do anonymous so that, you know, there's not any issues with that. So I love peer review. I think it's amazing for collaboration, and I think it's a great way to help your students formatively think about the way that they're thinking and learning, but also maybe getting ready for this grand sort of presentation at the end. It could be a good way. All right, let's take a look at Hotspot. Anything, Corey?
I do want to ask, yes, I want to add one thing. So one thing I love about peer review that kind of takes it to another level. If you are a teacher that uses a rubric for grading purposes, when the student goes in to do that peer review, they will see the rubric that you've assigned. And so that's another way to give students the option in a safe space to give that feedback, because they're just working in the parameters of the rubric that you've created. So I love that. And then as the teacher, when I come in to grade, it kind of like highlights in like a orangish color what the student selected. So I could choose to agree with that, you know, evaluation of the feedback, or I could give a different grade based on that. And then where we saw the comments from the student perspective, when those are set to anonymous, the students wouldn't see those names, but you as the teacher will still see those. So in the event that a student says something that, you know, needs to be addressed in giving feedback, you as the teacher still retain the ability to see who does what, even though the student still sees it as anonymous.
Thank you, Corey. I appreciate that feedback, and that tells me next time I demo this, I need to remember to put the rubric in there, and I failed to do that. So thank you so much.
Oh no, you're good. That's just a random thing that I just saw a teacher do that I didn't know they would do that in peer review.
You're 100%, and that's important. And I'm going to definitely create my rubric and get it in there, because that's an important thing for teachers to see, I think. So thank you so much. All right, so these 3 examples here are just 3 of my favorite new quizzes, right? First thing I want to show you is Hotspot. Now, when you click on a new quiz, it looks similar in the beginning, and then you look down here and you have these 3 buttons. You have save, cancel, and build. When I'm building something, that's when I'm creating and adding my questions, right? So I just want to show you, I have a couple of notes here just so I can remember a limitation with hotspot. So hotspot is basically you're designing a place for the student to click to show their answer, right? So this question supports only one hotspot per question. You can't do more than one hotspot. So here's a stanza that I created as a teacher, and I'm asking the student to select the stanza that provides evidence for the time of year mentioned in the poem. And what I did was I went ahead and I grabbed in the edit mode here. I'm going to edit a copy because it says you already have students in this course that are working. I grabbed the square and I just dragged it, like if I were highlighting it, I dragged it to where the correct answer is, right? And then simply click done. I want to show you that in preview mode. So the student comes in, he or she would click on it and they would get started because they could tell if it was a timed quiz or not. So here they say, select the stanza that provides evidence for the time of year, right? If the student clicks here and clicks submit, they get the warning, that's your answer. When it goes here, you can see that that was actually not the correct answer because it was, I think, the third stanza, right? So they're giving me the correct answer. So that's pretty cool, I think, where it's just click on this part of the screen or this part of the picture. I think about social studies teachers using it with maps a lot, right? Something pretty cool to look at. So that is the hotspot. I can show you how to build that. I'm looking at the time, but I want to show you the rest of them as well. So let me go back a second. I'm going to go back into student mode and I'm going to show you two more quizzes. Whoops, I'm in preview. Stop it. Let me go return. Try it again. All right, so let me go into student view here again. Hotspot, as you can see, was we just talked about that one. I want to show you the ordering example. You know, I'm a big fan of putting things in order. Tell me the process. Tell me the steps to do something. Now, the thing about the ordering example, I put a little hint here in blue. It says, first of all, you can choose to have labels shown or not shown. In this example, I didn't have the label shown. You can check display answers in paragraph option to avoid them being shown by default. And I can show you that real quick, but when I created this, you know, put the life cycle of the butterfly in order, I obviously did it in the order, right? And when I made this, I did not click display answers in paragraph, and it just showed up in the same order. And I'm like, that doesn't work. But then when I click the paragraph, now what's happened, right, is the student comes in and they start to drag these things in the correct order, and then they click submit to see if they got it correct. And the nice part is it's right there. But if you don't click the display in paragraph, it looks just like this. It's in a linear, it's in a list, and it's not in the right, it's in the right order automatically, right? So when you create that, you want to do that in the correct order. Right, let me leave student view again for a second. And I'll show you what that looks like. So here I am in my ordering example. Let me click on the pencil. And whoops, click here on the pencil, excuse me. So I'm going to edit a copy, and it's going to say that because it knows that a student has already taken it, right? So here's my answer, right? If I don't display the answers in a paragraph and click done, here's what it's going to look like. It's in the right order, right? I mean, students can drag it when they go to answer it, but it looks for them. And I guess I should go into student view so you can see it. Preview. Let's see. Preview that, sorry. So when I didn't click in the paragraph, put it into paragraph, see that it's just right there. I mean, it's not necessarily in order, but you know, to me, it was just, I felt like, oh, I didn't really like that. So what you want to do, if you like it side by side, then obviously you can do that, right? So let me exit the preview. And the last one is a categorization, putting things into their categories. You can make multiple categories, just a few categories. So this one was just an example of, I think it's categorizing animals. Come on, internet. There we go. Okay, so categorize the animals into their categories: mammals, reptiles, birds, fish. Right. So the students are essentially. I'm not even looking right now. Just want to give you the idea. So what's happening is they are dragging them and putting them into their correct category. And then what they will do is click submit. They'll get that warning. And then they can see, because I've chosen to allow them to see feedback, right? They can see what their answers were. I thought that was a really fun way, really quick way. Like, right, that could be your bell work, that could be your exit ticket, something super simple just to get an idea of, what the student knows in regard to the formative assessment. So we do have a few minutes. Can we take questions? Can we take comments, suggestions, anything you want to talk about, anything that you'd like to see maybe demonstrated? I'd love to take the last few minutes just to meet your individual needs. Even if it's also just a matter of feedback of what do you think of the formative assessment types that we talked about today? Has it spurred any thoughts in your head about, oh, I do this on paper already. How could I put this into Canvas? Anybody want to share?
I do have a question. I
Yeah.
really enjoy them, all of them. It was really nice to see different things that I can do in Canvas. My question is how I go and do them.
Yeah, of course.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. All right. So, what would you like to see? What's your favorite? Pick one.
as she was doing the categorization, I was
Okay.
thinking about I'm teaching my student how to create sentence in Spanish, and they need to know the different parts of the sentence. So I thought about and also making things in order. So those two areas definitely I can use them.
Okay. So what I did was I went to quizzes and then I clicked on plus quiz, right? So now I have a choice, classic or new. If you're doing categorization, it's going to be a new quiz. So I'm going to click new quiz and I click submit. What's going to happen is the quiz opens. This looks very familiar, right? This is how we usually create. So I'm going to give it a name and I'm just going to call it demo quiz category, just because I'll figure out how many points. You can always come back and change points later from the settings. Decide, give it a due date, all of the things that we do, generally good practice, right? And now at this point, I'm going to click build. And from here, I'm going to be given an option of, I can go ahead and put my instructions in here, which you would do. And then I click the little plus here. And you can see here that I now have a choice of these are the new quiz types. So you mentioned categorization. I'm going to go ahead and click that. And this at first threw me off, you guys. You have question title and then question stem. And I kept putting my question stem here. So maybe this is, maybe you just leave it blank, or you could say categorize whatever you're going to categorize. This is where your question's going to go. So Maria, I think it was Maria, right? Go ahead and give me a question that I could type in here, just off the cuff.
Let's see. Well, basically, what I would like to know is this is categorization. Okay, classify the different parts of a Spanish sentence because they need to recognize what is an article, a noun, an adjective.
Okay. You can
I
help
will
me
not
out.
be doing well on this question.
She's gonna help me out with this one, right? Okay, so classify the different parts of a Spanish sentence. Okay, so that's your
Perfect.
direction essentially, right? So category one, I think I heard noun. Is that correct?
Nouns.
Okay, category
Nouns,
two,
verb.
verb.
Right, that's what we're doing. Article. Can we do more? Like four?
Oh yeah, see right here, I go new category.
Okay. Articles in adjective.
Articles, and then another category for adjectives. Okay, so those are your categories, right? So now you're going to come up with some answers because the students are going to grab that answer and put it in the proper category. So an example of a noun I guess it would be a
We
Spanish noun in
we can
Spanish.
put it, yeah, we can put different names like yes, I can say Juan, Juan.
Okay.
Juan.
And
We
now
can
do
say
another one.
let's just say Maria.
Okay, perfect. And then as the verb, right? So we would have
We can use verbs like let's use the verb to be, verb soy, soy, which means I am. The verb es, which means is.
okay.
And then articles, um, we can use Ola. And then adjective, we can say, let's see, serious, serio, CE. No, I'm sorry, SEREO.
SEREO.
RER, no, I'm sorry, RIO.
RIO. Thank you. Okay. And then let's just do
And
one
then
more.
the other one, it can be, let's see, good. Bueno, BUENO.
Perfect.
Good,
Okay.
that's it.
And then you could put, like, if you wanted four, right, you could have answer, answer, answer. You get however many you want, right? And then you can align it to an outcome from item banks, all of that. So I'm looking, we have 2, 2, 4, 6, 8. So here I would go ahead and apply 8 points. I'm going to click done. From the settings, I could go back and adjust my quiz now for 8 points, right? 8 points total if I decided to do that. So here is your quiz. If I go into preview mode, this is what it would look like for the student. So the student comes in, and now the student will grab the word, right, and pull it into bueno is an adjective, right? Juan is a noun. Maria is a noun. Soy is a verb. La, el, es, stereo goes there, I think, right? And then they would submit. Yay! And then when they submit, they'll get their immediate feedback. And they'll see how well they did. So that's an easy way for you to do the categorization.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah, it's
New,
fun. I love
different.
it. Yeah, exactly. Something different. And then you can see.
Also, I just want to say how proud of you, Lori, and I could not have done that on the fly like that with getting that in another language. So I did want to call one thing. If you're not seeing new quizzes, I put this in the chat because it is a relatively new feature. Some districts have not turned it on or just made it available, and maybe individual teachers need to turn it on. So if you're not seeing that, that would be a conversation I would suggest having with whoever is the Canvas admin for your district or school. So just because that is you may not see new quizzes when you want to go and try these things.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
Maria. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anybody else have a request? Can I help you? Anything that you saw or anything that you're thinking about? Lorianne, can you show me how to do this? I'd love to be able to help out. Right here. Oh, it is 7:59. I think they could be tired, Corey. If you're interested,
Impossible.
I'd love to show you really quickly, just because I remember feeling like, oh, I don't know if I know how to do that. So let me just grab real. I'm going to go to YouTube. See, I'll do Common Sense Media. Common Sense Media. I can't spell now. And let's say that, show you where I grab the screen time video. Spot. Just wanted to show you. Let me just go to YouTube. It's probably. So let's say that you have a YouTube video that you share, you have it shared with your students, you're interested in doing it. What you do is you go to the video. Let's go to this one. Okay, so I take a look at the video, and as it's playing, right, I have the share button here. So if you're interested in bringing a video out of YouTube into Studio, So what you'll do is you'll click on the share, and then you just want to copy the code here, right? So I'm just going to copy the code, and then I'm going to come back over into my instance. I'm going to go to Studio. And this is great because it's just an easy way to take away all of that noise away from YouTube. I'm going to click add. When I click add, I have a choice. If I have a video that's downloaded, or maybe a screen capture that I created, I can go ahead and browse my files and upload it into Studio, and it'll be there. Or I can just take the code that I had from YouTube or Vimeo, and you can see right here, automatically it's there and it's ready for me to use. Once it's there, I can go ahead and I can ask for captions. You know, we talked a few weeks ago about accessibility. So I can go ahead and ask for captions by clicking the language that the video is in. Whoops, I'm sorry, that's uploading. Forgive me. I can.
So Lorianne, sorry, if it's one you pulled in from
You're right.
LTI,
Yeah.
it has to be one you've created to do the
That's
auto
what I've
captioning.
created, yeah. Normally, I'm a creator, so normally I create my own videos. When you're doing auto captioning and it's a video you've created, it'll auto caption for us. Otherwise, I have to pull it from YouTube. So I kind of apologize for showing you that. But it's here, right? It's ready to use. I can go ahead and I can share it with certain students. I can come back into an assignment. I can embed it in the assignment. So for example, if I wanted to add it here, I just go into the rich content editor. I'm going to click where I want the video to show up. Click here, go to Studio. It takes me to my studio. I can select one of two videos, right? So I can select that video and I can embed it. And it just will automatically populate. I'm going to save this real quick. It'll automatically populate within my assignment, and it's there for my students to use. You can enable comments, or you can say no comments on the video. If you enable comments, I highly, highly, highly suggest that you subscribe to the comments. That way you will see when things are commented. We know that we always have to work on, you know, good digital citizenship. Any comments that are there, I'm going to get a notification to let me know. All right, it's 8:02. I've kept you too long. I'm sorry, I do that all the time. I certainly hope that you walk away with at least one thing that you can take away for this presentation around formative assessments. I'm super excited to hopefully meet with you again and hear some of the great things that you're doing, and you know, continue making learning fun, and hopefully you're able to do that within the Canvas environment. Thank you, everybody.
Corey, I just got a quick question. Is the studios is something also new? Because I'm looking at my Canvas and I don't see that either.
So Studio is the only thing that we talked about tonight that is an add-on to Canvas. So that is a thing that had to be purchased by your district. So they had the ability to purchase that. And that's a whole nother conversation I can have. But you can do a lot of that stuff if you could also bring in some of the content if you have there are a couple other vendors out there that integrate well with Canvas. Edpuzzle is one. PlayPosit is another. There are a couple other like video-based formative assessment platforms that you can use. I will say I put in the link in the chat. We will have one more of these for the school year on April the 7th, where we will be talking about Mastery Paths, which is a way to differentiate and kind of personalize learning for students in some ways automatically, so you don't have to do that as a teacher. So look forward to hanging out with you all then. Lorianne and I are going to stick around if anybody has any additional questions, and I will stop the recording right now.
Thank you.